Making Moves in the Marketplace is a program dedicated to providing a forum for elite social entrepreneurs doing significant acts of good for our world by impacting their own sphere of influence. These unique individuals are following their calling and encouraging success, and not just for themselves. Listen to these interviews and be inspired, as well as obtain contact information so you can get firsthand advice. So let's meet our guests on Making Moves in the Marketplace.
This is Ed Bracey saying welcome to Making Moves in the Marketplace. And I have a special guest with me today. I have Carolyn Maul. Carolyn, how are you today?
Hello, Ed. I'm fabulous. Thank you.
Super. I'm one of these people, as I always say, who likes to get right into it. So let's start with our first question today of this interview. And that question is, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm not one for beating around the bush either. So here we go. Again, my name is Carolyn Maul. I am a professional life coach. I specialize in relationships, fitness, and nutrition coaching. I have a background in all of these three things, including a master's degree in holistic nutrition. I'm also the director of business development for a nonprofit known as Synergy of Empowered Women. So I have these two very much aligned business models where I help people to basically create their future selves, whether it is in a relationship, whether it is within their body, or whether it is within their business.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. You talked about the education side. Tell us more about the practical side. What draws you to do what you do?
Well, that's a good question. And in all of my time researching human behavior, right, and all of my time being in the personal growth world, I have done a lot of deep work on myself as well. And really, when you think about it, the things that you love to do as an adult often reflect the same things that you loved to do when you were a kid. So when I look back, I've always been very, very curious about people. I've always been very physically active. I have a hard time sitting still, right? So all of the personal fitness and the personal training and all of that stuff that I've done as a career just simply stems back from essentially who I have always been. And again, one of the things that I help other people to do is to kind of figure out, what do they stand for? Not only what are their core beliefs, but sort of what are their personal archetypal patterns that they were born with, they've always had. And so I know for myself, again, after years and years of work, I know what I stand for. And I think that when I walk into a room, everybody else gets that too. And so those four things that I could just tell you straight up are: I stand for strength, intellect, beauty, and love. So the strength part is obviously as an athlete, not only physically, but also that sort of mental fortitude that you have to forge if you're an athlete, if you're a business owner, if you're a parent, right? And intellect, I have advanced degrees and I'm always learning and reading. Beauty, my first degree, actually my bachelor's degree, was in art history. So not only am I an artist, but I really appreciate the arts. And then also, love. And that reflects back to my love of people, my desire to help them forge stronger relationships. And, if you take it even one step further, there's that whole teaching, in A Course in Miracles, which says basically at the end of the day, there's only fear or love. And so I choose to surround myself with as many positive people and experiences as possible. So
take us back a bit. How did you stumble upon this formula, this combination that makes you, you? When did you have that aha moment that crystallized and said, aha, this is me, this is who I am? When did that occur?
That's a good question. When I started to have kids, right? So I had kids young. And so this is my early to mid 20s. I found myself needing to keep busy, right? Because when you're a new mom, you're often in the house. And so, I chose to stay mostly at home with my kids. It was important to me to make certain sacrifices so that I could be there. But when I say I was at home, I was also getting a master's degree. I was racing triathlons. I had my art in a gallery downtown Flagstaff. And I remember thinking to myself one day, how old was I? I don't know. Like I said, mid-20s, maybe 27 at the most. I looked around and I thought, I am doing all of these things and none of them particularly well. You know what I mean? Like, I'm busy running the youth soccer program in town. I'm trying to get shifts in this gallery. I'm trying to make art. I'm trying to study. I'm trying to run around with my kids and compete on my own. But that's when it really started to occur to me that all of those things were important. Like, none of those things I was going to give up. I just had to start to prioritize what was most important to spend time doing. And then, like I said, years go by, I've opened a studio, I've gotten divorced, I've moved across the country, I've done all of these things. And I remember I had an assignment from a business coach that I was working with at the time. And it was one of these kind of questions like, what do you stand for? What does your brand stand for? And I remember being out for a walk. I was either out walking or running in the woods, thinking about that question. And I just remember being out in the woods thinking to myself, well, of course I know what I stand for. If I had to say 3 to 4 things that have never changed in my whole entire life, what is my business built around? What am I fascinated with? What are the things that I'm passionate about day in and day out? There are these things. And it just became very crystal clear. Like, I could say that in 4 words. And in retrospect, it is true. And moving into the future, it will also be true.
So once you discovered that, what was the paradigm shift that happened in your life? Say, for instance, it was yesterday, and then today you crystallize all these elements, these aspects of who you are. What was different today than yesterday when that happened?
So the clarity of understanding where my clients were coming from, why they were attracted to me. Because when I got really crystal clear on who I was, it became extremely evident why people were attracted to me, why people wanted to work with me, why I was bringing in certain types of engagements, right? Because when I looked back and when I looked at what was happening now, I saw very clearly that people who wanted to work with me had at least 2 of those 4 things. A lot of them were also athletes. A lot of them were extremely intelligent, successful people. A lot of them were creatives. So that beauty and art piece was always there. And a lot of them wanted help with their relationships. It was important to them. Not all of the factors were always there, obviously, but at least 2 of the 4 were always present. So that was the paradigm shift. I knew who my people were.
That is what I was driving towards. So since you have discovered that paradigm shift, talk to us about who has been attracted to you from the element of age, male, female, nearby, far away. Give us some of the elements.
Well, luckily, with the internet the way it is and social media the way it is, local geographics don't matter anymore to me. So using video and this kind of thing as well, where people can hear my voice, they can hear my energy. I mostly work with men, to be honest. So mostly it's men, and they come to me because they see me as a trusted advisor. I am not looking for a boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like, there's very clear rules in our client relationship, but they see me as a strong woman who they can trust.
Time out. You just said that your market is made up of the 4 elemental types of personalities, but your crowd is primarily men. How is that?
There are a lot of very strong, very intelligent men in the world who were simply not taught the communication skills that one needs to be able to form and continue to build strong relationships. It's not that men don't want to be in relationships. It's that they oftentimes don't have the vocabulary to speak about their emotions. And they oftentimes feel like they're not being heard, or they're not being seen, or they're not being respected in a relationship. And there are ways to correct that. Also, there's a lot of men too in the world where they assume certain things when they walk into a room. So if before you go through this work, you make assumptions about how people see you. But as soon as you do this kind of work and you get this clarity, whenever you walk into a room, you know that people are seeing and feeling you as the man that you are, the attributes that you embody. And that's the really powerful piece in all of this. Now, women, I mean, I do work with women, and women come to me especially when they want to shift from being in a corporate world to being an entrepreneur. They are strong, usually type A personalities, right? And they're just ready. They're ready to stop making excuses. They're ready to dive deeper into their life and let go of regrets.
I'm going to say something, and this is a little bit, it's kind of in line with what you're talking about. But if you ever decide to have a convention of your clients, I want to be invited.
That would be fun.
Absolutely. Which leads me to our next question. And you've actually, touched on this, but why? What's your why? Why do you do what you do? What's your driving force?
Well, I just can't not do it, right? Because I can't actually get behind working in someone else's business where there's lots of bureaucracy and there's constraints, because I am creative. I like to move fast. I like to be able to adapt and adjust as needed, right? It's very important for me. The life that I have created allows me a lot of freedom. And I like to be able to move to the East Coast or move to the West Coast or work remotely or stay home. A lot of people equate like their bank account or their assets to feeling safe and secure and free, right? What does freedom mean? It means I can afford things.
Mm-hmm. Society is big on that.
Yeah. And, for me, my freedom and my happiness has always been tied to being authentic to myself, to knowing myself and knowing what makes me feel the best. And so I've created a lifestyle around that. And that's also, that's my passion. That's what I want to help other people do. So the why is for other people to feel like this as well, like not constrained, not burdened, not in fear, but in really, really coming from a place of, this is who I am. I am living. My gifts, my strengths, my unique abilities are all being utilized, because that's what feels really good.
Sure. And that makes absolute sense with everything that you've talked about to this point. So let's talk about how all this aligns with your core beliefs.
So, like I said, I'm very clear on who I know myself to be. My core beliefs, are in alignment with the fact that we make choices every single day. Every single day, we're making a choice as to how we feel, what we think, how we see ourselves in the world. And the challenge that a lot of people have is being present. And so one of the things I help people do is to be able to manage their thoughts and their feelings and their emotions in a way that they can maintain a sense of being present, because that's where change happens. A lot of people, they have this thought of the future, of themselves in the future, whether it's 2 days or 2 months or 2 decades, we have this sort of fantasy idea of us in the future. And what's very interesting is that isn't you. That is a stranger, And a lot of people don't understand that the person that you see in your mind is not you. That's a fantasy person. And if you want to become like that person, well, there are certain things that you need to do. There's a certain path that you need to take. But there's always this disconnect. There's this gap between where you are today and where you see yourself in the future. And so my job is to help close that gap. Tell me what you see in the future. Tell me the things that you want to achieve. Tell me the things that you want to shift and why is it important. And then let's reverse engineer. How will you get that way? By acting as if it is done now. So that's being in the present, right? And it's also retraining yourself to not react from emotion so much, but rather to see challenges, to see the world, to see things that aren't particularly fair, to see things outside of you, not in a way that we label good or bad or right or wrong, but these are just things that are very interesting. And how do we choose to interact with them.
Right. I have to give you a compliment, but before I do that, I need to confess that, you and I know one another. We converse and we talk about all types of subject matter. And one of the things that is amazing to me, and just let me take a step back, one of my favorite interviewers is a guy by the name of Tim Ferriss. And he's written several books. And if you ever hear him do the interview that he did with Jamie Foxx, to me, that's one of the best interviews I've ever heard. And one of the things he talked about is that future that we lay out for ourselves. And he said, it's impossible for me to lay out any further than 2 weeks, because my life within 2 weeks' time can be totally different. I could move to a different locale. I could be doing a different occupation. So hearing what you just said is so much in alignment with that same interview I heard him do with Jamie Foxx, which was amazing to me because it made me focus even more on the future being so much closer than we believe it is. And I truly believe that's how it is. It starts with that initiation of our commitment here, wherever it starts. But it evolves from there. And that's exactly what you were saying.
And if you read anything by Eckhart Tolle, also, you get just hit in the face with the past doesn't exist, nor does the future. You know what I mean? Like you can't go back and you can't go forward. The only thing that you have is this very moment, this very breath that you are taking. And so you have to be able to manage yourself in the present moment with the understanding that if you don't like the way you feel right now, it is up to you in this moment to change that.
Exactly. And by some means, some education, some experience, some connection, to find whatever that nugget is, that morsel that we need to give us clarity for that next step, that is so vital. And that's one of the things I got today. Interesting. And it leads me to this question. I'm going somewhere. Tell us about your future vision.
I'm really excited about the future. I don't know exactly what it will look like, obviously. However, I'm excited about my role in the nonprofit organization, Synergy of Empowered Women, because I really feel so aligned with the vision and the people, the women who are attracted to this program. I feel like the gifts that I have, the skills of being able to help other people create their future selves, are in alignment with also who is coming in, who we're drawing in. The energy is all the same. Everyone is sort of like on that same vibrational pattern of, I want to up level. I want to become the next version of myself. And it's a blessing for me to be able to be within an organization, to be able to have a hand in helping people get clarity on what that really looks like for them. And so in conjunction with that, concurrently, I have my Create Your Future Self coaching, which I do through carolynmaul.com. And so that's also like thrilling to me because I have this 4-week curriculum that I put everyone through in the first month. And it starts with identifying what your archetypal patterns are, what your core values are. And then from there, it stems into understanding the 6 basic human needs and also creating a life zone map, your own personal tapestry of what your life is comprised of. And in all of those zones, are your basic needs being met? So this is a huge eye opener for people. And then the next week, it goes on to, your attraction factors. How are you presenting yourself? How do people see you? Who do you want to attract? What kind of opportunities are you going to start pulling in? And then towards the end of the program, working together, we kind of walk through all of these forks in the road. Okay, so A or B? B. Great. So from B, C or D? E. Okay, great. So, you know what I mean? And as a coach and a mentor, to be able to help people get out of their heads for a second and just imagine okay, so, I have a particular client who was having a really hard time because she has a degree in something that she doesn't really want to work in. She has 3 kids. She's a single mom. So we just went through this whole thing. Okay, so would you like to work for yourself or for someone else? self. Okay, great. So when you see yourself working for yourself, are you doing this thing that you have with your degree, or are you doing something different? Different. Okay. So you're doing something different than your degree. What does it involve? And then we go from there. Like, it has to involve creativity. It has to involve this. Okay, well, what would it take? She said, well, I would need a nanny. I would need some help cleaning. I would need help with my kids. Okay, imagine you've got that in place. What does your day look like? And then she was like, wow, okay, all those barriers are gone. This took about 5 minutes. This is laser coaching, right? And this is what I love doing, because once you can get someone to be like honest and clear in their intentions and their gifts and their love of what they're doing, woo, things go fast.
Great. Outstanding. So let me ask a question. You said that you're doing this within your website and your coaching program. Would it be possible that you could extend that offer to the members of Synergy of Empowered Women?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. See, this is the most exciting part of how aligned all of the pieces in my life have become. Because everything that the nonprofit stands for and my position there is in complete alignment with everything else that I'm doing as far as my coaching with private clients. So everything just kind of seamlessly comes together there. And yes, I mean, this is a program for anybody who is part of Synergy of Empowered Women, because everyone is looking for that clarity for the future. What am I building into? It's a perfect match.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I believe that would be a great enhancement for our membership. And I look forward to hearing the feedback, because I've worked with you and I understand the power behind what you do. And I've seen immediate results. And that's one of the things I love about working with you. I like immediate results.
I hear that.
I can say, go for it. Absolutely. So how would people get in contact with you? What are your methods of contact?
So my website is simply my name. It's simply www.carolynmaul.com. My email is the same, carolyn@carolynmaul.com. I will give you a link, Ed, to the Create Your Future Self coaching program.
You can put that on Synergy. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I mean, those are the best ways. I mean, I'm on Facebook like every day. I kind of live there. So my business page on Facebook is Carolyn Maul Wellness. That's my page name. But also they can find me through Synergy of Empowered Women through our business page.
Super.
Lots of ways to get a hold of me.
And I want to make sure people understand that. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up here?
Just that, I really want to encourage everyone, whether it's with me or with a friend, to get an accountability partner. Because once you have a vision, listen, motivation on a daily basis, self-motivating is BS. Like, you can't count on it. It's not always going to be there when you need it. So I encourage everyone to find an accountability partner, whether it's a coach or a mentor or a friend or someone that you met online in a business group. Get that accountability. It is necessary. It is necessary. It's one of the things that people discount, I think, the most.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, because the people I see who have no accountability are the ones who run into so much trouble. There's a verse in the Bible that says, iron sharpens iron. You need to have someone at your level or above, preferably above, with knowledge to help you be accountable and move forward. I love that.
That would be my parting thought.
And it's a great one. So let me thank you for the time today, Carolyn. It was great. Again, Carolyn Maul. And we'll have this interview posted as soon as we can, because I believe this is very important, especially with the offer that you've given to our audience. And we thank you again. This is Ed Bracey on behalf of Making Moves in the Marketplace, saying we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us today for Making Moves in the Marketplace. Making Moves in the Marketplace is a production of Synergy of Empowered Women, an organization that provides a platform for donors, volunteers, and advocates committed to helping women achieve their greatest potential. We look forward to our next informative broadcast, where we interview social entrepreneurs making moves in the marketplace.